My name is Daniel. I'm 33. I've worked in finance for over a decade, and if there's one lesson I've learned that school never taught me, it's this. In some families, love is conditional, but expectations are permanent. And I didn't realize that until I stood in the back row at my own mother's funeral holding the envelope from her lawyer and realizing I didn't matter, not even a little. But let's go back. I always thought I was the dependable son, the one who never said no. I wasn't perfect growing up, not by a long shot, but I was consistent. My sister, Marissa, was the golden child, the loud one, the beautiful one, the one who always got the spotlight even when she hadn't earned it. And me? I was the one behind the scenes. Quiet, responsible, the fixer. If the family were a machine, I was the grease in the gears. Not flashy, but without me, everything jammed. I never really resented her. That's the crazy part. Even as kids, I'd hand over my toys if it made her stop crying. As teens, I'd cover for her when she snuck out. As adults, well, that's when things started costing more than just bedtime privileges. That's when I learned that sometimes the price of keeping peace is losing your own dignity. It was late August when I first found out my mom was in trouble. I was at work, neck deep in quarterly reports, when I got a call from her out of nowhere. That wasn't normal. She usually texted or waited until the weekend. But this time she called 3 times in a row. I stepped out of my meeting thinking something terrible had happened. In a way, it had. "Danny," she said, her voice shaking. "I think I'm going to lose the house." I felt my heart thump. "What happened?" I asked, already mentally running through her financials. I'd helped her file taxes just 3 months earlier. Everything looked fine back then. "I missed too many payments," she said. "The bank's been sending notices. I ignored them. I didn't want to worry you." That last part made me clench my jaw. Because she didn't want to worry me, she let the roof over her head inch closer to foreclosure. I asked her for the full number, the total past due plus penalties. She hesitated and then said it, $41,729.38. I told her I'd call her back in 20 minutes. I didn't even flinch. I went straight to my savings, wired the money, and called her back. "You're good," I said. "The house is safe." She cried. Sobbed, actually. Said I was her angel. Said she didn't know what she would have done without me. And I believed her. I really did. That night I slept easier than I had in months. Because that house, the one we grew up in, the one Dad poured his weekends into fixing before he passed, meant something. It wasn't just drywall and windows. It was ours. And keeping it in the family felt like protecting a piece of him too. The next day, I got a voicemail from Marissa. "Heard you saved the house. Guess I owe you dinner or something. You're still Mom's favorite." I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it felt true. I had always been the one who showed up. The one who didn't make excuses. The one who didn't need to be begged. And deep down, I thought that meant something. I didn't do it for a prize. I didn't expect a parade. But I did think, in some quiet, unspoken way, my mom understood who was in her corner when it mattered. And for the next few months, everything felt normal. Better, even. She called more. Thanked me again. Invited me to brunch. I thought maybe this was the turning point. Maybe after all these years of being the reliable one in the shadows, I was finally being seen, appreciated, recognized. But I was wrong. I didn't know that behind those thank yous and extra phone calls was a woman preparing her will. One that had my sister's name written on everything. Every asset. Every heirloom. Every key to the home I just saved. And by the time I found out, it was already too late. She was gone. And everything I thought I meant to her died with her. The funeral was quiet. Clean. Controlled. That's the word I kept thinking, controlled. Like everything had been planned so thoroughly there wasn't room for real emotion to slip in. Marissa was there, of course, front and center in a black dress that probably cost more than what Mom used to make in a month. She cried the loudest. Hugged the most people. Threw the most dramatic glances up at the casket. But not once did she look at me. Not really. We shared a nod. That was it. I thought maybe it was grief. Maybe she couldn't face me without falling apart. But now I know what it really was, guilt. Or worse, entitlement. Because she knew. Long before I did. She already knew what Mom had done. I found out a week later. The lawyer called. Said he needed both of us present for the reading. I cleared my schedule and showed up early. Dressed clean, haircut, notes in my phone of things I thought might come up. debts, property transfers, medical bills. I wasn't thinking about what I'd receive. I was thinking about what needed to be done. That's the difference between me and Marissa. I was thinking about responsibility. She was thinking about what was hers. The lawyer was polite, professional, old-school type with square glasses and a slow voice. He read through the formalities, then got to the part that made the world tilt. "To my daughter Marissa," he said, "I leave the house and all its contents." I blinked. I must have misheard. He continued, "Also to Marissa, I leave the joint savings account, the silver heirloom jewelry, and the 2015 Toyota Corolla." I felt my throat dry out. Every single thing Mom owned. Gone to her. No mention of me. Not even a line. Not even a symbolic token. Not a photo. Not a thank you. Just silence. The kind of silence that screamed. I interrupted. "There must be a mistake," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. The lawyer looked at me over his glasses. "This is the final signed version. Witnessed and notarized. No amendments." I turned to Marissa. She wouldn't meet my eyes. "You knew," I said quietly. She didn't respond. Just kept looking at the floor like it held the script she was trying to remember. The lawyer excused himself to give us a moment. I stood there hollow. "You let me pay off the mortgage," I said. "You let me wire my savings into a house that's not mine. That Mom made sure wasn't mine." Finally she spoke. I didn't know what to say. That made me laugh. Bitter. Sharp. "How about thank you? Or sorry? Or maybe, this isn't right, we should fix it." She looked up, and for the first time I saw it. Her eyes weren't wet. She wasn't sad. She was tired of pretending. "Mom said I needed it more than you," she said. "You have your job, your apartment, your savings." She said I'd never be stable unless she left me everything. That hit like a punch I didn't see coming. Not just the content, but the fact that she believed it. That they both believed it. That being responsible had become a punishment. That being the one who could handle life meant I'd be the one who would be cut out of it. I walked out without another word. Drove home in silence. I didn't cry. Not yet. I just kept repeating it in my head. I paid for her future, and Mom rewarded her for needing me more than I needed them. I didn't sleep for 2 days after the reading. I'd lie in bed, stare at the ceiling, and replay the same thought like a broken song. Why wasn't I worth a single sentence? Not even a, "To my son, thank you." Nothing. It was like I never existed in her life at all. And the more I sat with it, the more the memories twisted. Every "I'm proud of you," every "you're the strong one," every "I knew I could count on you" suddenly sounded like prepayment for silence. Like she'd been prepping me my entire life to take the hits, carry the weight, and never ask for anything back. And worst of all, I agreed to it. I agreed to be the responsible one. The dependable one. The one who never complained because Marissa was going through a phase or Mom needed me to be the adult. And I did it. Over and over again. I paid rent when Marissa lost her 3rd apartment in 2 years. I cleaned out Dad's garage when Mom couldn't bring herself to do it. I handled the estate taxes when Grandma died. I was the guy they called when something was broken, and not once did I ask for credit. But I never thought credit would be erased. I thought there'd be something left for me. Not money. Not jewelry. Just acknowledgement. A single sign that I mattered to the woman I called Mom. But what I got instead was silence. And a sister who looked at me like a bank that had finally closed. I didn't talk to her for 2 months after that. She tried once, sent a text saying, "I know it sucks, but we can't undo it now. Let's not let this ruin what we have left." I didn't answer. Because what was left? What exactly did we still have? A fake relationship built on my willingness to sacrifice and her willingness to take? A mother who loved the loudest crier instead of the quiet protector? I didn't want that anymore. I didn't want to be the background character in my own family. I started therapy. First session, the therapist asked, "When was the last time you did something for yourself without calculating what it would fix for someone else?" I didn't have an answer, because I didn't know. I was the fixer, the provider, the grown-up since I was 16. And now, without a mom to take care of, without a sister to save, without anyone left to call when the sky was falling, I had no idea who I was. I started journaling, not because I wanted to write some healing narrative, but because I needed somewhere to put the anger, the resentment, The realization that I spent over $40,000 to protect a house I was never going to walk into again. That I paid off someone else's legacy. That my name would never be etched into anything we built as a family. And the worst part? I knew, if I hadn't paid that mortgage, and she had lost the house, everyone would have blamed me. I would have been the heartless son. The selfish one. The you make six figures and couldn't help your own mother? One. Because being the strong one only counts when you're doing what they want. The second you step back, you're ungrateful. Cold. Distant. And I finally understood my value in this family wasn't love. It was usefulness. And once they got what they needed, they closed the tab and left the table. 3 months after the will, Marissa showed up at my door. I didn't invite her. She didn't text first. Just knocked like nothing had happened. I stood there for a while, staring at her through the peephole, wondering what kind of story she'd rehearsed this time. When I finally opened the door, she gave me this little smile like we were still siblings who borrowed each other's snacks and shared jokes over Thanksgiving dinner. I didn't say anything. Just stepped aside. She walked in like she owned the place. Sat on the couch. Looked around and said, "You've redecorated." I just stood there, arms crossed. Waiting. She finally said, "You're really not going to talk to me?" I walked over and sat across from her. My voice was calm. "What exactly do you want me to say?" She looked annoyed. Like I was the unreasonable one. "That you're mad at Mom. That you're hurt. That you hate me. Get it out so we can move on." That made me laugh. Actually laugh. Not because it was funny, but because the entitlement in her tone was almost impressive. I leaned forward. "You want me to get it out? Fine. I don't hate you, Marissa. I pity you. I pity the fact that you've gone through life being rewarded for your chaos. That you mistake silence for approval. That you think I was ever okay with carrying your weight." She opened her mouth, but I kept going. "You know what hurts? It's not the house. It's not the car. It's not the money. It's the fact that I was the one who never failed Mom. And she still gave everything to you. That all those years I kept us afloat counted for nothing. Because you cried louder." Her face twisted. "That's not fair." "No," I interrupted. "What's not fair is being treated like the safety net while you jump from one failure to the next, knowing someone would always catch you." I took a breath. "I paid off that house, Marissa. 42 grand. Gone. And you didn't even think to offer me the guest room." She looked down for a second, but when she looked back up, her eyes weren't apologetic. They were cold. "I didn't ask you to pay it off," she said. "That was your choice. That moment right there, that was when everything in me shut off. Not with anger, with clarity." I nodded slowly. "You're right," I said. "It was my choice. And I won't make that mistake again." She stood up like she was done playing her part. Walked toward the door, then turned around and said, "You're not the only one who lost her. You act like I didn't love her too." I looked her dead in the eye. "You didn't love her. You leaned on her. There's a difference." Then I opened the door and held it there until she walked through. I didn't say goodbye. I didn't slam it. I just closed it, quietly, and locked it. That night I deleted her number, removed her from my emergency contacts, took down the photo of the three of us from the hallway and slid it into a drawer. Not because I was erasing the past, but because I was finally choosing a future that didn't require me to play the fool. No more silent support. No more bank account in exchange for fake affection. If being the strong one means I get forgotten while others get rewarded for their neediness, then let me be alone. At least here, the silence feels honest. A week after Marissa left my apartment, I got a call from the estate lawyer again. He said they found a handwritten letter from my mother in a sealed envelope, tucked into a folder of unrelated documents. It wasn't part of the official will, just a personal note addressed to me. He asked if I wanted him to scan and email it or mail it to me. I told him to send it digitally. I don't know why I was nervous. Maybe I thought it would fix everything. Maybe I thought I'd finally get the closure she didn't give me when she was alive. The subject line just read, "From your mom." I opened the PDF, heart racing, palms sweating like I was back in high school about to open a college rejection letter. It was 2 pages long in her handwriting with that neat but slightly shaky cursive she used for birthday cards. It started with, "Danny, if you're reading this, I'm gone." I already hated it. She went on to say she was proud of me. That I'd always been the rock. That I was the reason she slept at night. That I reminded her of Dad, strong, silent, always fixing things no one else noticed. And for a moment I felt something soften. Like maybe I had misjudged her. Maybe she didn't know how to show love, but she still felt it. But then the letter took a turn. She said, I left everything to your sister because she needs it more. Not because I love her more, but because I don't trust her to survive without it. You'll be fine. You always are. That sentence broke something in me that hadn't broken yet. Because what she thought was a compliment was actually the deepest cut. She didn't reward Marissa because she deserved it. She rewarded her because she was unstable. She didn't leave me anything not because I didn't matter, but because she assumed I didn't need anything. As if survival and love were interchangeable. As if being the strong one meant I didn't deserve softness, generosity, or gratitude. I closed the laptop and stared at the wall for a long time. That night, I sat on my balcony with a blanket wrapped around me, thinking about all the times I bailed them out, showed up, held space, and never asked for anything. And now I realized I'd been invisible the whole time, not because I wasn't loud enough, but because they never thought I'd leave. They built their lives on the idea that I'd always be there. Reliable. Unshakable. Predictable. And that's what scared them the most. That I might finally walk away and mean it. The next morning, I wrote my own letter. Not to send, not to publish, just for me. It started with, to the version of me that kept showing up when no one noticed. I wrote about the kid who stayed quiet so his sister could scream. The teen who got a job early so his mom wouldn't worry. The man who gave up vacations and comfort to pay a mortgage he didn't own. And then I ended it with one line, you don't owe them anything anymore. I folded the letter and placed it in a box. Inside it, I added my old house key, a copy of the bank receipt from the mortgage payment, and the photo of me, Marissa, and Mom at my college graduation. I closed the box, taped it shut, and wrote one word on top, done. It's been almost a year since my mother passed and nearly 9 months since I cut off all contact with my sister. I haven't told anyone where I moved. I didn't throw a goodbye dinner. I didn't update my address with anyone except the IRS and my HR department. I packed up my apartment, sold my couch, donated everything that reminded me of the house I paid for but never got to keep, and moved 3 cities away into a small 2-bedroom rental with hardwood floors and no memories attached. I don't miss the old neighborhood. I don't miss the Sunday calls that were more obligation than connection. And I definitely don't miss wondering if I was doing enough to earn love that should have been unconditional. In my new place, I wake up without guilt. I cook meals for one and never have to worry about someone calling in the middle of dinner with a crisis they created and expected me to solve. I started running again. Got back into painting, something I hadn't touched since college. I even started dating. Not to fill a void, but because I finally have room for someone who sees me as more than just a solution to a problem. And the best part? I never once felt the urge to reach out and explain myself. Not to Marissa. Not to extended family. Not to the people who still post old family photos with captions like, nothing stronger than blood. Because I've learned that blood means nothing if it leaves you bleeding. I didn't just walk away from my family. I walked away from a version of myself that only knew how to serve, sacrifice, and survive. Now I'm learning how to live. Without guilt, without waiting for validation, without wondering if someone will ever finally say, you mattered. I don't need them to say it anymore. I say it to myself every morning. When I make coffee in a mug I bought because I liked it, not because it matched someone else's kitchen. When I decorate my walls with art I chose, not photos of people who only smiled when they needed something. When I look in the mirror and see someone who still has scars, yes, but also finally has peace. Sometimes I get curious. I'll check Marissa's Instagram. She still posts from the house. Still refers to it as our family home. Still writes captions like, miss you every day, Mom. But not once has she acknowledged what I gave up for that home. Not once has she posted anything that says, thank you, Daniel. And I'm glad, because if she did, it would probably feel fake. Too late. Too polished. I'd rather be forgotten than lied to. I didn't disappear to punish them. I disappeared to protect myself. And if there's one thing I've learned, it's that sometimes the most radical thing you can do is remove yourself from the people who taught you your only value was what you could give them. Now, I give to myself time, space, forgiveness. And I've never been freer. I used to think closure came in conversations. That if I just said the right words, if I yelled, cried, explained, demanded, someone would finally get it. That they'd look at me with new eyes and say, you're right. We were wrong. You didn't deserve that. But that day never came. And eventually I stopped needing it to. Because the truth is, some people will never see you clearly. They'll always view you through the lens of what you can offer. And once you stop offering, they'll act like you disappeared. But I didn't disappear. I just stopped giving them access to a version of me they didn't value. Marissa still lives in the house I paid for. Still drives the car that came from the savings mom never touched when she said she was barely making it. Still posts family memories like we're all in some warm Hallmark montage where nothing ever went wrong. Let her. Let her curate a version of life where I was never the one turning the gears behind the curtain. Let the extended family believe I'm distant, cold, bitter. I'll take that, because the alternative was being used until there was nothing left. I don't respond to group texts anymore. I muted every number that only ever called when there was a problem. I changed my email. I started new traditions. Thanksgiving with friends who show up early and stay late, birthdays that don't revolve around making other people feel comfortable, holidays where I sleep in instead of forcing myself to smile across a table filled with unspoken tension. And for the first time in my life, I feel like I'm not performing. I'm just existing. Honestly. Quietly. Fully. I used to think family meant forever. But now I know family is anyone who sees your worth even when you're not fixing their life. Anyone who sits with you when you're tired, not just when you're useful. Anyone who remembers your boundaries and respects them even when they don't benefit from them. That's my family now. Not the people I grew up with. Not the ones I bent over backwards for. But the ones I chose after I stopped apologizing for needing peace. If Marissa ever calls again, I won't answer. If a cousin reaches out to say, "We miss you," I'll smile and keep scrolling. Because they don't miss me. They missed the version of me that absorbed the damage and never said a word. That person's gone. He left quietly. Didn't slam the door, didn't burn the bridge, just packed up, healed up, and moved on. And if anyone ever asks where he went, tell them, he's somewhere safe now. Somewhere he doesn't have to buy his way into love. Somewhere he doesn't have to prove he matters. Somewhere no one gets to rewrite his worth ever again.